Bananas in pajamas are coming down the stairs. Bananas in pajamas.
Must go to bed, must put on my pajamas, have my pajamas on. No, I don't. This is my shirt. I hope you like it, because it's about to tell you all about the humble banana and how the banana is a little bit different than what we thought, and what it has done and created in this world is a little bit different, because it is the key to the future of global warming, emissions and all of that stuff. So let's find out how the humble banana, without its pajama, has changed things. Right, it all starts back in the history of time, of course. And if we look thousands of years ago, we find out that Asian spices, such as turmeric, and fruits, like the humble banana, had already reached the Mediterranean more than 3,000 years ago, much earlier than previously thought. So this is new science. A team of researchers working alongside archaeologist Philipp Stockhammer at Ludwig Maximilians Universität in Munich, LMU, has said, quote unquote, as I'm quoting, as I'm saying, shown that even in the Bronze Age, long-distance trade in food was already connecting distant societies, even in the Bronze Age. That means the whole question of society back to the Bronze Age times, and the whole question of what we think we know and what we think perhaps, like think of archaeologists, what they could have found, might not actually be as accurate as we thought, because each time an archaeologist digs and finds something, they sculpt a story around that find. And so with all the things they found, how about banana skins? Maybe they've slipped on one even, or two, and skipped a few. So it's about figuring out really what, where and how this is connected to now. What they said they did for the study was, quote unquote, further analysis. Stockhammer's international team examined 16 individuals from the Megiddo and the Tel Arani excavations, which are located in present-day Israel. Yes, indeed. The region in the southern Levant is served as an important bridge between the Mediterranean, Asia and Egypt. So there's three major areas there in the second millennium BCE. The aim of the research was to investigate the cuisines of Bronze Age Levantine population by analysing traces of food remains, not easy to find a couple of thousand years later, I'm sure, including ancient proteins and plant microfossils. Plant microfossils can and have been found now, it seems, and that have remained preserved in human dental calculus over thousands of years. So that means they found bodies. Lo and behold, they found bodies. They found wreckages and obviously places of burial, and they found people's mouths within those bodies, and within those, as we've only found out in the last couple of decades really, that DNA can be stored, of course, within parts of our body, and that this, which we've seen in incriminating evidence cases with the law, and that you can backdate decades and even 100 years or so before and figure out what happened in murders if you exhume bodies, for example. But the dental records are now showing us even further back to thousands of years, and they can find that the only thing that could be in those remains of those people that have died are bananas. Yes, bananas, which shows and points the finger to the past. What does this mean for the future? So then it asks the question, well, how should we travel, or should we travel at all in the future? And we've seen in the lockdowns with the coronavirus that it's tricky to figure out if and how can we travel, because certainly masses of people were not travelling during all of that time. And of course, with that, then the aviation industry changes, people lose jobs, and then there's knock-on effects of all other industries like private business people and so on that are travelling overseas to make money, to make lots of money. And if you can't do that, certain industries are going to change. And then, of course, you're going to relate to your people around you in a different way as well, because if you need them, well, then you're going to be much friendlier to them, especially the people within your locality. Now, Greta Thunberg, the young lady who, 16 years of age at this time, from Sweden, had previously travelled to London and other European cities by train when she was wanted and required to give talks to stand up for what she calls her generation of people who have been disrespected over the years. Why? Simply because of this whole climate change. The fact that they have been unborn, and we as older people have abused the earth and not looked after it for ourselves as we grow older, but also for them as they are younger. So how can they get out of the earth what we got out of the resources and the different pleasures and such? And she's been very, very hugely vociferous on this and spoken about how emissions and carbon emissions are really destroying the earth. So she's made a point of it by travelling by train, by boat and so on. And this particular article is looking at how emissions can be calculated and also can be decreased by travelling in certain ways. Domestic flights emissions. Now these are just examples of the UK, United Kingdom. And it said 133 grams, you can see there on the screen. And that's plus 121 grams. And then that's a domestic internal within your country. And of course, if you're in the States, say for example, state to state, one of the 50 states, which there's tons of flights traditionally going from state to state, and that allows people to travel, like people go to college and people to work through the states, then there's going to be an increase, isn't there? Same way with long haul, you have 1 or 2 grams there, plus 93 grams, and then it goes down to car, one passenger. Here's the interesting thing, 171 grams, and if we go down 2 little slots there to a car with 4 passengers, in other words, if you carpool 43, it's actually going to be a third or even a quarter, even more of that. So it's incredible, really, the difference of having 4 passengers or even more than 1 passenger in one car. Carpooling is the way of the future if you're to have a car. Bus, 104 grams, and domestic rail, 41. Why? Because of course you can have more than 4 that you would have had in a car. Coach then 27 and Eurostar 6. But of course, the problem is, in some countries you don't have, say for example, good enough roads to hold coaches or the width of roads. Because if you're looking at history, you're looking at very, very old places, and the fact that you don't have the width of roads, and therefore you have buildings built on edges of roads, on corners, on turns. If you want to widen roads within cities where it's densely populated, not every city has skyscrapers, for example. Not every city has planning going back to those times. I mean, the population of the world has doubled in the last generation, the last lifetime as such. And so with that, there was no planning with regard to, hey, we're going to have almost 8 billion people on the planet, and therefore our cities and villages and towns are going to be doubled, at least or so, in numbers. So that all means, of course, is the banana, the humble banana, the one that's eaten by the gorilla, has travelled further and earlier than what we thought, which means travel itself has gone on with mass production much earlier than what we thought, which means our calculations with regard to how this whole global warming and the emissions have occurred, is it that accurate? Well, the reality is it's perhaps not as accurate, but it's going to have to, this new knowledge, to inform us of how we plan for the future. Because even back in 3,000 years ago, bananas and fruits of such unique origin were required, needed and sold no matter what across the world. So it's a humble banana that's teaching us all about the future. And so our planning has to accept the fact that years and years ago, much longer than what we thought, there was trade going on, mass production, and that in the future there's going to be a need for that. We need to find ways, and quickly, for global warming in the future. So, hope you've enjoyed the video. Please subscribe, hit that button. Thank you if you have. Until next time though, have a wonderful day.